Hey, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Alonso's here with Matt and Christy. And Pixar's latest, as you no doubt know, is going straight to Disney Plus without the added Mulan surcharge this time. So that's premiering this Friday, December 25th. Who's going to talk about it?
It's called Soul.
Yes, it's called Soul. Anyway, Soul is the story of Joe Gardner, voiced by Jamie Foxx, who is a piano player, but also a middle school music teacher. We see him teaching. Most of his class are not very good, except for one particular trombone player who is terrific. Joe is not wild about the prospect of working there full time. He really wants to be a full-time performer, play the clubs at night, get gigs, play with the greats. He manages to get an offer to go and play with Dorothea Williams voiced by Angela Bassett, at the iconic Half Note Jazz Club. And he's super excited about it. This is the thing he's been waiting his whole life to do. He has a passion for music, and he falls in a manhole and doesn't quite make it. He's in the in-between, and gets hooked up with a budding soul named 22 who has not wanted to go to Earth, and they cook up a scheme that they can find her spark so that she'll go to Earth, but then he gets the pass to go back to Earth and back in his body, and adventures ensue. 22 is voiced by
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey, thank you. And it is an adventure through, we get to see it's not afterlife, what the pre-life is. The Great Before. And then they both end up on Earth, but in the wrong bodies. 22 ends up in his body, and he ends up in the body of a cat, and shenanigans ensue. I liked this movie. I think that one of the things, look, I'm a jazz fan, and so the music in this is terrific. There's some really, really good music in this. I think the voice cast is outstanding. Phylicia Rashad lends her voice to Joe's mother. This is a story about whether or not there's a purpose in life, and it's kind of a look back. I mean, I think you can look at this movie and kind of look at where Pete Docter's gone as far as like seeing kids grow up, and the Toy Story movies have kind of touched on that. And this is now maybe somebody looking back on their life and kind of what does it all mean? But I think there's some snappiness to this. I think it's a good adventure. It doesn't quite hit the emotional peaks that say some of the greatest Pixar stuff has done. It doesn't, it wasn't a tearjerker for me, but I enjoyed this. It raises some interesting questions and some ideas, and it does cover a little bit of the same ground as Inside Out, but I still really enjoyed this a lot.
I love this movie, and I did not cry, but I did find it as profound as Inside Out or as WALL-E, and it is as intellectual, and it has that kind of rigor. It's one of the great examples of Pixar functioning on all levels for all possible audiences, right? Because it's beautiful. The colors are incredible. So if you're going to watch it with little kids, they're not going to pick up on the existential crisis of it all, but they'll love the little blobby shapes that the souls come in, and the blues and the pastels. And there's a softness to the Great Before that is really soothing and really appealing. But as an adult, I mean, it's deeply profound, I think, as far as causing you to explore your sense of purpose. What's interesting about Joe is that he's a Pixar hero, but like he's kind of blah. Like, yeah, he loves music, but he realizes under greater scrutiny, like, he hasn't been living, I hate to use this phrase, but as purposefully or as he should have been. It sounds like a totally cheesy new agey cliche, but he's not been doing with his life what he should be. And this is the wake up call that he needs. But that sounds really hokey and new agey, but because Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey have such a wonderful, snappy chemistry, it's so fun. I gotta mention the music. You mentioned the music. The score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is like the best score you will hear all year. Alonso and I were talking earlier about our LA Film Critics voting. We picked this for our best score, and then Jean Baptiste did the jazz composing and arranging.
Oh, and it's so good.
Which is a crucial
so
piece
good.
of this film, of course. So I thought it was beautiful and moving and profound, and I dug it.
It's pretty good. Let's not get crazy. You know, Matt, I could tell was having a hard time cramming all that plot synopsis in, and that's because of the movie. That's not because of Matt. There's so much world building that has to go on in this movie, and so much that has to be explained and set up to get to the central metaphor. And I think Pixar has done this more smoothly in the past, and I agree with y'all. I didn't cry either. I think the you know, Pixar is out to do that to you. They're out to get to that moment where they just like pull the rug out from under you and you're like a sobbing mess. And didn't really land as well for me either. That said, there's a lot I like about it. I do think it is visually gorgeous. I think it does have interesting things to say about the idea of life itself and how we live it and how we choose to live it and what drives us and how much we sort of, you know, go with what we think our strengths are or what we think we're meant to be doing. But I don't know. It didn't leave me with that satisfied feeling that a lot of the best Pixar movies do. That said, B- Pixar is still pretty great in the world of cinema in general. If you want to, but I think a better movie about jazz specifically is Sylvie's Love, which drops Friday also on Amazon Prime, which we'll talk about when we come back in January.
You know who co-wrote this, which is so interesting, is the playwright Kemp Powers.
Okay.
Who also wrote One Night in Miami, which we're going to talk about.
Oh, that's right.
He wrote the play for that and then did the adapted screenplay for Regina King. And so we're going to talk about that later on in the show.
And he has a co-director credit as well.
Interesting. And, you know, they may seem like extremely different movies, but they're both about characters going through existential crises and trying to figure out who they are at a crucial point of flux.
It's interesting though. It's interesting though how this one is almost the polar opposite of One Night in Miami, though, as far as like what that messaging is about a purpose. Because this one almost makes the question about purpose and meaning irrelevant. You know, what Joe kind of learns in the end is not at all what he expected. And we see where Joe has not been living in the world, has always kind of been doing other things and focused on stuff that doesn't quite even matter, doesn't quite make a difference, right?
It's like the expression that life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Right. And this movie does a good job, I think, of showing that. It's maybe a little bit more obvious than, say, some of the other movies that we've gotten messages from in Pixar. But this one I really did like. Again, going back through, you know, not only I'm a big fan of the music, and that the movie does a good job of giving us jazz, but then giving us this kind of otherworldly music. And you kind of don't notice that could otherwise be really discordant, pun intended. But the other thing is the design of the characters in this, because not only do you get these like soft, soul-looking characters, and then you get, you know, the typical, or not typical, but you get, you know, animated people in the cartoony way, but the way they portray the Jerrys.
I do love the Jerrys.
Right. The Picasso of it all.
And right. Like, it's such a different look, and it's, you know, I'm amazed that Pixar can still give us new things to look at.
It reminded me of, if you've ever seen The Dot and the Line.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Isn't that Chuck Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But besides being strange, I mean, the whole Jerry characters is really funny. And a lot of the things that, and you mentioned, Matt and Alonso both said that this is a plot-filled thing and that there are like a lot of wacky shenanigans in between the profound moments. But like, I laughed the whole way through. I think the way we describe it, or the way I describe it, makes it sound like it's like a serious, dark downer.
No.
And it's not.
No.
Like, all the stuff with the cat is hilarious. And the playfulness of it is goofy, but it always landed for me. I laughed my head off the whole way through.
And getting to see autumn in New York through the eyes of someone who has never been on the planet before, they capture a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really, really loved it. I'm saying 9.
I'm jacking my score up to 9 because I had probably given you just add 0.3.
Okay. All right. So Matt's a 9. I'm a 9.
I'm sticking with my 7, but there's a lot to like here. That's an 8.7 from us.
Well, no, it's an 8.3.
Then I'm wrong saying
Matt-
add the 0.3.
Matt just said all you have
What
to
do
do
I
is
know?
add 0.3.
Oh, you're right. It is an
Oh,
8.3. It is. Sorry.
Don't toy with me like this, boys.
Sorry.
I was just
All right.
making that up, but I guess I was right.
I don't know. If you guys are wrong, someone out there will tell us. All right. So anyway, our number is somewhere in the 8-ish range. Soul will begin streaming on Disney Plus on Christmas Day. Hang out and enjoy it with your family and your jammies. Talk about it afterward.
There you go. Everybody wants a deep existential conversation with their family on Christmas Day. Why not?
Oh, one last thing I do want to add. Since we're talking about jazz and it's Christmas time, I highly recommend the Kenny Burrell Jazz Christmas album, and then Jimmy Smith Christmas album is masterful. So yeah, definitely, and Ramsey Lewis's too. Those would be the
Now
three
you're just
classic
showing.
jazz. No, I'm just saying like, those are the three kind of like classic, bop, cool, hard bop. I want that shirt that his buddy was wearing. The shirt that was
right.
like,
Yeah. Just listen to the half-hour version of My Favorite Things, and that'll cover your whole Christmas.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for watching, you guys. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media at BeFastAllDay, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Lots of fun stuff that is exclusive for our subscribers. We'll catch you next time. Bye.